Morning. How you doing, Dave?
Good morning, Tim. I'm Dave. I work for Lettings, and this is my colleague Tim, who also works for Lettings. And we're here to talk about the new letting process for when people want to rent a house through Curo. So Tim's going to explain to you about why we've recorded this video.
So obviously with the changes around the coronavirus pandemic that's come in, we abruptly had to halt our service. It was quite a shock to us because we were normally so flat out giving people their new homes. And it meant for a few weeks we didn't particularly have any kind of consistent normal work to do, and we had to do lots of other sort of bits and bobs, which is annoying. But as soon as we were given the go-ahead to start going again, we were very excited to get back to it. And it was a case of, oh, how do we do it? Because we can't see anyone in person. So we had to come up with new ways of doing it. And most of those ways involved some form of technology, which has had its teething problems. But, 6 months down the road, we've pretty much nailed it. And we've got kind of a really good way of doing things. So I think the first thing is obviously someone's bid on a property with us, with one of our local authority partners. And Dave, what happens next?
Well, what we'll do is that we'll get your name from the local authority list that's sent to us, and we'll give you a telephone call. Or if we can't get hold of you by telephone, we'll drop you a text message to book what we call a success plan with you. So you bid for a property, you've been shortlisted against it, and we'll contact you to arrange an interview. Now, as Tim said, things would have been done, face to face a few months ago, but we now do it via telephone and an email. So we give you a call, and this is the first step in your move to hopefully a new Curo property. An interview is really about four things. We'll have a chat to you about your personal details. We'll talk to you about how to contact you, to use email, mobile numbers, dates of birth, that type of stuff. We'll have a chat about the property. We explain to you where the property is, how big it is, hopefully when it's ready to let and hand across to you. And we also have a conversation about how much the rent is and what you have to do in terms of ongoing rent payments. We talk about advance rent payments where appropriate. And then we have a conversation about what your income is and what your outgoings are, to make sure that if you were to move the property, you're able both to afford the rent and of course all the bills that are associated with the property. And we'll have a conversation about any debts you might have and any credit cards or etc. you might hold. Of course, any questions you want to ask, we'll do our best to answer those. So the interview is by telephone, and it takes about 45 minutes to an hour. If all that goes well, we then clearly know that you want to see the property. You want to sort of see the address you might be moving to. And again, before March, we'd have done that physically. You'd have come to the property with us, we'd have taken you around the property and shown you it. Well, we can't do that now, both for your safety and for our safety. So what we do now is what we call a video call. We'll arrange a date with you. We'll go inside the property with our phone, and we'll WhatsApp you with a video call to walk you around the property. We'll show you all the rooms. We'll talk to you about anything we plan to do with the address. We'll show you all the components, the heating system, the sinks, the bathroom, the front door, the garden, if appropriate. So we'll give you a tour of the building, and any questions you want to ask, now's the time to ask. We'll do our best to answer those.
Dave, we often get quite a lot of people asking for like measurements of rooms, don't we? And we can follow up with some photos and videos after as well, can't we?
Yeah, and I know I always take a tape with me. So if you want to know what size curtains you need, what size carpets you've got to plan for, now's the time to ask then. And if you wanted to, we'll do our best to send you a video, any photos you would like.
We found WhatsApp's really good for that, haven't we, Dave? Seems like everyone's got it.
Yeah. So if you've got a WhatsApp account, it's really helpful. So that's the viewing. So it takes about half an hour, and we're just there to help you and answer any questions you might have. So after you see the property, and we're happy that you can afford to pay the rent, we then need to get some keys to you and get some documents off to you. And I think my colleague Tim will talk you through how that works. Is that right, Tim?
Yeah, we've this has been like the most challenging part of it, really, because obviously we're used to doing stuff over the phone, like Dave said, with the success plan interview. And the video call viewing, as long as we've got signal, that's gone pretty smoothly as well, because we're used to taking photos and videos in properties and helping people do measurements and things like that. But when it came to doing the sign-up documents, which is where we have sort of some essential paperwork that we have to complete, along with, most importantly, the tenancy agreement, it's, how do you do it? Because obviously long has been the ambition to not use paper, and to try and go to a more digital format, which would mean we can, save the trees and all that. But also, storing these things, people often lose them. They haven't got their own copies. Obviously, if they've got a digital copy via email, it's there permanently, for most people. So we've used a sort of document signing service, which we trialled actually in the sort of 6 months leading up to lockdown. We kind of knew it was going to happen, if you know what I mean. We didn't. We kind of had to just go with it. We had to kind of create slightly different documents that were appropriate for it, work out how to use it, work out the best practice for using it, help new customers who we'd started to move back in the early days, how to go through that process. And what we've got now is a nailed on way of doing it, where a couple of days, so let's say Dave's interviewed you and he's done your video call viewing, which is, really excited. We said how much sort of rent in advance you'll have to pay. All the documents are all in, ID and everything we need to see to make sure that you've got the right to rent the property. And we kind of go, right, let's sign you up. We've got a date. We agree on the date in advance. That's always very exciting for us, isn't it, Dave?
It is, yeah.
We're like, yes, we can let you. We're really looking forward to that. And 2 days ahead, generally, one of our colleagues in the team, a lettings coordinator, who does all the amazing stuff in the background, making sure everything runs properly across the lettings and voids teams. And we sort of say what detail we need to do the paperwork, and we kind of hand over to them, really, and they're kind of the experts in guiding an applicant or to a customer to be through the sign-up process, which is we have to have an email address from you, your own email address. That's like a legally binding thing. We send out the tenancy agreement and the other associated documents. Sometimes it comes to us first, we fill out some detail. Other times it will go to the customer first. It's there to review. You can then sign when you're happy. You can do that all in your own time, 2 days ahead, after you've paid the rent in advance payment. That's the important thing, isn't it, Dave? Rent in advance first.
Yes.
Then we kind of let the paperwork go. And over the course of 2 days, you can do your paperwork. And that generally is a much more relaxed and prepared way of doing things, because we've done a few like last minute ones where people are desperate to get their keys. I'm like, right, we've got the property, can we make it work? 2 hours later, it's 7 p.m. We're still working. In fact, everyone's had an experience of that on the team over the last 6 months, which has been quite a challenge, hasn't it, Dave? But yeah, the way it's going really smoothly now is 2 days ahead. We've got all the paperwork signed. Us lettings negotiators have checked everything off. The lettings coordinators have handed it back to us, and then it's kind of down to the sort of excitement on key handover day, which is now a separate thing from doing all the paperwork. We used to kind of have all the paperwork, print it off, turn up with a pack, meet you at the property, and go, right, here we go, we'll show you all around. But obviously we've done most of that and covered it at the video call viewing. So because we can show you around the property, we can say all those things. And then, so on the day, we ring you up and say, here's a key safe number, because we've got key safes fitted to all of our properties that we've got empty. And with that key safe number, you can unlock it, get your key out, and let yourself in, have a look around the property, see if it's exactly what you'd expect. And then we do a follow-up document called a home handover, which is where you can give us some feedback. You can also confirm that you've received all of the important certification like gas, electric, asbestos or EPC certification. We send that all out by email along with all the other documents. And then effectively, you just say, great, I'm in, and you can start making your new house a home.
Yeah, it's worth adding to, isn't it? When we do the viewing, we will point out where the meters are for the gas and electric, who the account holder is, and also we'll try to identify if it's a key in the card or a meter. And if you wanted to change that after you move in, you're more than welcome to do that. So make sure that we do tell you where the meters are when we do the viewing, because it's helpful for you to know where they are when you move in. And also the documents, Tim, is that right? There are quite some important documents in there to read.
Absolutely,
especially with the house.
Yeah, so we've got to make sure that you've got the. Are you talking about the certification, Dave? Or you
Yes, that's
talking
right.
about
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you need to make sure that you've got a valid new gas and electric certificate where that's appropriate if you've got gas and electric. Sometimes there might be asbestos in property, which means that it's safe, and we've done a survey to say that's the case, or it's been removed during the void period. And then an energy performance certificate, which is essential whenever letting or selling a property. And we've also got some privacy documentation.
Yes, yeah.
And other things that come out as kind of like a pack. And actually, there's a form in there, isn't there, called the Handy Home Information, which has
That's
got
right.
all of
Yes,
those.
there is. Yeah, yeah.
It's got all the meter locations, the keys that you should find in your property. It should have also the suppliers and the type of meter, shouldn't it? So we've actually got, we'll do it in person over the phone, and then also like that. And the other thing I found, Dave, I don't know about you, is because we start using WhatsApp at the early stages, is that you end up having quite sort of long and consistent conversations with customers. So the other thing about this is I've personally found, I hope you'd agree, Dave, that before when we'd let, it was kind of like we had appointments that were set, and because we were driving around so much on the way to all these appointments to see people in person, we often didn't have a lot of time to engage as much as probably we do now, because I just receive like WhatsApp messages, and it's a lot easier for me to guide customers even after we've let the property and answer questions like that and get back to them quicker. And obviously they still call as well, which I think's worked really well, don't you?
Well, I still get lots of calls from customers I signed up a couple of weeks ago who just want to ask me one or two things, which I think before that wouldn't happen. So I think we're a lot more hands-on than we would have been before. And I think now, as you say at the start, now it's fine-tuned. I think it's starting to work really well, and a benefit to customers. And I also sort of say to my customers, we're here to help you and make sure it works. And I guess you agree with that as well, Tim.
So our colleague Dave, who's hosting this with us, has just said, did you read that message? I couldn't see it online.
I missed it. Sorry.
He's sort of asking. I think he was asking what customers think about the new process. I mean, our feedback's been pretty good, hasn't it? As such, we would love to know more about how it goes, and that's kind of part of everything with a company like ours. We always ask for feedback after it's happened, both for the condition of the property and any positive comments or even any constructive comments of how we could improve. It's always really welcome, isn't it, Dave?
And we do ask lots of customers after they've moved in about their experience, and I really urge you to give us some honest feedback, because we want to know what things work well and maybe what things we could improve with. So please let us know.
Yeah, we initially had feedback once because I think people were really grateful that we were even letting them properties, and we were letting to people from particularly kind of vulnerable backgrounds, like either homeless or supported accommodation, when the lockdown was happening, because of the government strategy to make sure that there was as many people as possible within housing across the country. We were kind of involved with that. They were extremely positive with their feedback, but we're interested now that we're back up to a full normal letting service, which we have been for the last 2 or 3 months. It's interesting to see that the satisfaction that we've been given feedback on is consistent or above where it was before, which I think is reflective of our, the positive engagement we've got as the experts in the let with a customer, which has been really good.
I agree.
So I think our last thing to say is there's going to be some links that will pop up somewhere around Dave and I, and give you something to read to attach the things we talked about too. We're also going to do another video, which is about ending a tenancy, which you can probably guess most of the ways we do it from what we've introduced for this. Would you agree, Dave? It's all...
Yes. You've got to move the property first before you can end it, and hopefully, that will be sometime in the future. But Tim said we do another video about how you do that.
Yeah. So I think that kind of rounds us off. Dave, lovely to see you as always. Love to see you in person soon.
Cheers, Tim.
Ta-da.